All right, let's talk about something you're going to see all the time. Hyponatremia. Yeah? Low sodium. Sounds pretty straightforward, doesn't it? Well, it's not. It's often this huge clinical puzzle with two suspects that look almost identical. And trust me, you have to get this right, because getting it wrong, well, that can be a total disaster. So let's put you in the hot seat. The lab calls. Your patient's sodium is in the danger zone, critically low. Your gut tells you to move fast. But what do? What is that first move you make? And this is no joke, because the stakes are incredibly high. Choose the right path, and your patient gets better. But the wrong one, the one that looks so similar at the start, you could actually make things catastrophically worse. This is exactly why being a sharp diagnostician is, well, it's everything. Okay, so let's line up our two main suspects. Now, on the surface, they're both guilty of the same thing, causing that low sodium. But how they do it, their whole MO, is completely different. We've got SIADH, that's Syndrome of Inappropriate Antidiuretic Hormone, and our other suspect, cerebral salt wasting, or CSW.
If you remember one thing, let it be this. Just boil it down to its simplest form. SIADH, that's a water problem. The body just holds on to way too much water. It's like a water hoarder. Now, CSW, that's a salt problem. The body's just chucking salts out like there's no tomorrow. Water versus salt. That one idea, it's the key that unlocks this whole thing.
So let's zoom in on SIADH for a second. What's actually happening is the body's pumping out this hormone, ADH, when it absolutely shouldn't be. And ADH basically screams at the kidneys, hey, stop peeing out water. So what happens? All that extra water dilutes the blood, but, and this is key, the patient's overall fluid tank is still full. It's normal. We call that euvolemia. Just a fancy way of saying normal volume. CSW, on the other hand, is a whole different ballgame. The problem here is that the kidneys are broken in a way that makes them just dump tons and tons of salt into the urine. And you know the old saying, right? Where salt goes, water follows. So the patient ends up losing both salt and water. Their whole system's fluid volume just shrinks, leaving them hypovolemic, or, dehydrated. Okay, so if they look so similar on paper, how in the world do you tell them apart? Well, it turns out there's one massive clue. One thing that just cracks the whole case wide open. And it is volume status. That's it. That's the whole game. Is your patient dry as a bone, or is their fluid level totally normal? Answering that one question changes everything about what you do next. All right, let's talk about that CSW patient. Remember, they're the ones who are volume down. The signs are all there if you just look. You'll see their blood pressure plummets when they stand up. That's orthostatic hypotension. And their heart will be racing to keep up. Their mouth is going to be dry. And that classic skin turgor test, you pinch their skin and it just kind of stays there. These are all textbook signs of dehydration. Now, flip that coin over and look at the SIADH patient. They're euvolemic, right? Their tank is full. So they're not going to have those blood pressure drops. Their mouth isn't dry. Their skin bounces right back. They look perfectly hydrated, despite that dangerously low sodium. See the difference? That hands-on physical exam is, without a doubt, your most important tool here. So you're probably thinking, okay, just look at the labs, they'll tell the story. But this is where the plot thickens, because the lab work, it can be so misleading. It's a total red herring. I mean, just look at this. The lab panels are practically twins. Serum sodium, low in both. Serum osmolality, low in both. And then, get this, the urine sodium and osmolality are high in both, which feels totally backward. Even the uric acid is low across the board. If you were just staring at this data, you'd be totally lost. This is exactly why you have to get your hands on the patient and check that volume status. Okay, so we've used our key clue, volume status, to unmask the real culprit. Now it's time to talk treatment. And this, my friends, is where the rubber really meets the road. Because what you do for one is the exact opposite of what you do for the other. And here it is, the single biggest mistake you can make. You see a CSW patient who's already dry and volume depleted, and you misdiagnose them with SIADH. What's the treatment for SIADH? Fluid restriction. So you end up taking water away from someone who is already desperately dehydrated. It is a recipe for disaster, especially for neuropatients, where you're basically starving the brain of blood flow. Just a total catastrophe. So let's do it the right way. For your SIADH patient, the one who's hoarding water, the plan is pretty simple, right? Get rid of the water. Step 1, and the cornerstone of everything, is fluid restriction, usually about 1 liter a day.
If that's not cutting it, you can give them some salt tablets. And if things are really bad, we're talking seizures or confusion, then it's off to the ICU for some carefully given 3% hypertonic saline.
Now, for the CSW patient, the one who's losing salt and water, you just flip the script completely. You have to aggressively give back what they're losing. That means lots of isotonic saline. The number one rule in big, bold, flashing lights is do not, I repeat, do not fluid restrict them. In really severe cases, yeah, you might use some hypertonic saline too, but the foundation of your treatment is volume, volume, and more volume.
So for all their differences, there is one rule to rule them all, one law that applies to both SIADH and CSW. Think of it like a universal speed limit. And if you break the speed limit, you can cause horrible, permanent damage.
And this is the number you need to tattoo this on the inside of your eyelids. 8. 8 millimoles per liter, that is the absolute maximum you should ever raise a patient's sodium in a 24-hour window. I don't care if it's SIADH, CSW, or something else entirely. You go faster than 8, you are playing with fire and risking permanent, irreversible brain damage. And that damage has a name: osmotic demyelination syndrome, ODS. What happens is, when you raise the sodium too fast, you cause this massive, violent fluid shift inside the brain. It's so powerful, it literally strips the insulation, the myelin sheath, right off the nerves. And the worst part? This is an iatrogenic injury. That means we cause it. It's a direct result of our treatment. And believe me, the outcome is every bit as awful as it sounds. So let's wrap this up. What are the big takeaways? Number 1, your hands and your eyes are your best tools. Use that clinical exam to figure out the patient's volume status. That's how you solve the SIADH versus CSW puzzle. And number 2, no matter what, respect the speed limit. Correct that sodium slowly and carefully. So I'll leave you with one last thing to think about. What's the real danger in just glancing at a patient and assuming their fluid volume is okay without actually doing a thorough exam? Something to think about next time you see that low sodium pop up.